What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another installment of Behind the Screen, a little sneak peek into the GM prep that goes into our weekly Drunken Dragons live stream, where we are playing ShadowDark in our homebrew world of Avreth. Let's create a dungeon. That's what I want to do today. Something low level, something close to the center of town, that the adventurers can go off and explore. I gave them a plot hook involving some goblins that they saw on the edge of town. And let's dive right in and just create this goblin-infested ruin, this castle ruin. I chose this map from Dyson Logos. I really like the layout. I like the verticality of the ruined castle, and I think it'd be a great place for a bunch of goblins to hole up. So let's just dive right in here. This is kind of the layout. Underground area. I want to do something fun down there. Main area and then the upper area. And let's go from there. Let's create a new file here. Just call it inhabitants. So obviously we want goblins, right? If it's going to be goblin infested. Let's think of some enemies first. Let's do goblins, obviously. Let's do maybe half a dozen goblins. And maybe these goblins are led by something or someone. Hobgoblin or a bugbear. I like bugbear. Let's do bugbear. One bugbear. Goblins like to look up to creatures of higher power. Bugbear's perfect here. Let's give him a name. He might seem important. Let's call him Cucknack. Cucknack the Bugbear, leading 6 goblins. Let's go back to our fort here for a second just to reference it. Okay. Underground, main, upper. Little entrance right here. So why are these goblins holed up here? Let's answer that question first. I always like throwing something challenging, right? Even if it is a very easy encounter, I want to have like an optional part that the party can interact with. And I think these goblins are holding up here because they captured some wizard or maybe a sorcerer. So I want to add maybe an enemy down here. This lower part of the ruined castle looks like a great area for some sort of caged animal or maybe a creature of some sort. And I think I want to play around with the goblins ambushed a wizard and took all of his stuff and kind of threw him down here and locked him up, and they were experimenting on him and feeding him a bunch of his own potions. And one of those potions was a potion of polymorph, and it turned him into a wyvern. That would be fun. So say there's a caged up wyvern down here, maybe in this area, that the goblins don't really know how to deal with because they've turned this wizard into it by feeding him a bunch of random potions. And they're kind of just feeding it, appeasing it, making sure it's chained up, but none of them want to get close to it, right? So they're trying to figure out what to do. I think that'd be fun to play with, a good interaction between the wyvern and the goblins and the bugbear, and maybe give the player some agency with how they want to tackle this, which I think would be funny. And maybe they can save the wyvern and save the wizard. Maybe they can't, but we'll see. So yeah, let's throw one wyvern. And these guys are no joke. Dragon cousins with large tail, stinger, mottled lizard skin, and leathery wings. Yeah, 37 hit points, 15 AC, 2 attacks, level 8. Again, super out of range, to defeat this creature. I might make him injured, maybe some sort of crippling injury, and obviously being chained up, malnourished from the goblins. I'll probably have the HP and bring that down, and I won't make it like a substantial threat unless they really mess something up and release this creature, and then it might go a little buck wild. but I want to obviously telegraph that type of danger. But I'm definitely gonna add a wyvern. I don't know if I'll keep those stats the same, because that seems a little crazy for the type of level of encounter. But again, you know what? The world's a dangerous place, and I might just leave it. And if they die, they die. That is how it is. So yeah, let's pull that in. So the wyvern is actually a wizard. And I know the potion of polymorph, or the polymorph spell, only lasts an hour, but we'll say it's lasted longer for the sake. Maybe a true polymorph type potion. So in order for that to make sense, behind the chained wyvern or wyvern, a leather bandolier with small blue bottles attached to it. Half of them cracked, broken. So at least there's an indication of what might have happened, and maybe it becomes a piece of loot that somebody wants to go after to figure out what's going on. But if they try to do that, then they have to figure out how to deal with this chained up creature. So I think that would be fun. And maybe there's a potion to undo it in that leather bandolier as well. So yeah, we'll have that. So we have the main entrance, which looks like it leads into this open room with a staircase heading up, which takes us to the top floor, a little table, maybe some bunks, across into this open air, which looks down both to the first floor and down into the cave system below it. Small little room on this side, staircase that lead down. So there's multiple paths to go up and down. And then the main hall, if you will, a doorway that leads to a staircase that heads up to a private chamber. So only one way in and one way out internally. But because of the ruined nature of this place, you know, there's cracks in the wall, windows, arrow slits. So there's other ways to navigate it. But if you're just going from the inside, there's only one way to get up to that portion. So I think the bugbear, the leader, will be up there, maybe with one goblin. That sounds good. So the bugbear will be up there. What is the bugbear doing? What is his motivation? Let's check some other books here. Let's steal some magic items. I like this. A shrunken head. Head of Maharaja's mason. A shrunken mummified head with thick black hair. Goblins love weird stuff. So imagine the goblins, or the bugbear, or the hobgoblin, whatever he will be, finds this shrunken mummified head, and it's talking to him, telling him what to do, right? So the benefit: on command, restores a single constructed object built by an intelligent creature to its original configuration. All the objects must be there to be reassembled. They can only do it once, and the head dissolves. So maybe this head is trying to communicate with the hobgoblin, and the hobgoblin is trying to restore this fortress so they have better fortification. And there's this back and forth between this intelligent mummified head and this not so intelligent hobgoblin, and they're just, no pun intended, butting heads. Ridicules poorly thought out decisions, upset whenever objects are broken. I think that would be really fun, especially if the players interacted with those two things, both the mummified head and the bugbear, before they encountered it, so they could hear what's going on. And then it kind of fits with the ruined nature of the keep. So I think that would be a cool item to have. And if the players get access to it before it's used, then they can use it to restore some sort of building, which I think would be a fun item. Not too broken, but good utility there. So yeah, we'll definitely yoink that. I like that a lot. Let's go back to our notes. So we got the head of the mason, the shrunken head. So the bugbear is being led by this head. That's cool. Let's go back to our map for a second. So they're going to be up there in the corner. The bugbear and the severed head are going to be yelling loudly from inside, so the players will be able to hear that. There might be some back and forth between this magic item. There might be a goblin up there too. His henchman that's kind of going back and forth, trying to figure out how to interact with the head, trying to find the right words. Maybe they just can't communicate. Maybe there's a common language barrier. Maybe the bugbear don't know many words. That would be fun. And maybe the goblin's breaking stuff, so it's just pissing off the severed head. And they'll be up there in that corner. And the only way to get up there from inside is to go down. So maybe that door is barred. Maybe the bugbear only lets certain goblins up there. So there'll be some sort of strength check at this door right here. That sounds good. And then I don't know. I probably won't have any goblins in the entrance because I want them to explore. And maybe the goblins don't even use that entrance. Or maybe they only use part of it. Like goblins like to obviously place traps. This is their fortification, temporary or not. I think for this, it looks like there's a door here and a staircase that leads up. Maybe the goblins always take the staircase up. And then if they want to go down somewhere else, they go all the way up, across, and then down this staircase, and then into the rest of the keep. So let's put a little trap here. That sounds like fun. So there won't be any goblins during the entrance. They'll come in, and this door, it'll be shut. Let's just do a simple pit trap. Maybe written in blood. Yeah. Simple pit trap after in the hallway. Door of main room closed. Written in blood on the door. Keep out. And maybe it's spelled wrong or something, right? Goblins aren't too smart. So we'll just say keep out. The door's unlocked. And if they open it and walk into this hallway, there will be a pit trap. Let's do a spike trap too. Maybe a pit trap into a spike trap. That's fun. Main hallway pit trap. And it's a crude pit trap. You might be able to see it. Pit trap into spikes. If they're really looking at it, they'll be able to see that it's crude. These goblins aren't master craftsmen, so it'll be a very obvious pit trap with very obvious spikes beneath it. And if they fall into it, they'll take the falling damage and maybe a d4 for piercing. Cool. Easy enough. Let's toss, I think, 2 goblins upstairs. So if they hear any ruckus, maybe they'll come down, maybe they won't. Maybe they're in the middle of doing something more important. We'll put one in this room right here, and then one in this room, and I'll describe what they're doing. We'll make a couple tables, random encounter table, and what the goblins are doing table. And then down here, the wyvern, chained up, occasionally hearing the screeching of this beast, which will indicate some sort of potential danger to the party. They will have no idea what it is until they get down there and find out, and then they'll be like, how do we fix this? Or what do we do if they get down there? Which I think will be cool. Let's do a random encounter table. 1, the worst roll, right? What's the worst possible outcome in this scenario? The wyvern breaks free. Perfect. That's terrifying. And I think the first thing that the wyvern will do if it does break free is it will try to fly to safety. It's already injured. It's not going to stop an attack. It's not going to get retribution on the goblins. This wizard/wyvern is just going to fly to safety. Unless messed with in some other way, right? But that's the first thing it'll try to do, is fly to safety. So that'll be more of like a neutral encounter, right? Depending on how they interact with it. Let's do some goblin interaction. So 2 of the goblins toughen each other up. How so? I think there's a random encounter in the core rulebook where they're smashing frying pans on each other's heads. Let's use that. 2 goblins toughen each other up. 2 goblins toughen each other up by smashing pans on each other's heads. That's hilarious. 3. We've got to add maybe some other inhabitants here. Maybe some bats. Maybe spiders. Right? This obviously was some sort of fortification before the goblins were here. I'm sure there were other critters and crawlers around this place. Let's do some bats. 2 bats hanging from the stone ceiling. Easy enough. Disturbed by light. Super simple. Spiders. I feel like the goblins would take care of the spiders. They might not care about the bats. What about rats? Rats are fun. 1d4 large. Not huge, but larger than your average rat. Maybe they've grown fat eating whatever scraps the goblins throw away. 1d4 large rats. Scurry beneath your feet. Ooh, at least one. Yeah, we'll say one. One is carrying something. One is carrying something shiny. The rest are carrying rotten food. Cool. Maybe some sort of gemstone. I'll roll for that. 5. What did I say? I got rid of spiders. We'll add spiders back. Why not? Maybe spiders or insect swarms of some sort. I feel like definitely in the lower portion of the keep, right down here, there's a lot of area. And if the wyvern's only going to be up here, we should add some more stuff. So maybe this is not just the cage for the wyvern, but an area for rotted meat where they toss their scraps, where they store their treasure. It's just like a dumping ground, basically. Think of it as like a junk drawer for the goblins. So there's probably some insects down here, as well as the rats and the bats. That makes sense. 1d4. Is that a lot? Insect swarm? I don't care. 1d4 insect swarm bursts out of an animal carcass. A discarded animal carcass thrown down there by the goblins. And last but not least, let's do a fun one. Let's do something with the magic item and the bugbear, Cucknack. Let's have Cucknack get mad. Cucknack and the magic item are fed up with the goblin that's trying to help decipher the communication between he and the magic item. So Cucknack is going to toss a goblin to his death off of the highest point in that keep, as per the Mason's wishes. Because the Mason's getting fed up with this goblin trying to help. And the Mason, the shrunken head, told Cucknack to get rid of him. And he listened. Very, very simple. Very funny interaction if it happens. So good encounters, that builds out most of the dungeon. Like I said, it's not very large, but there still feels like there's a lot happening here. There's different ways to tackle it. They can do it from the outside. They can go around. There's only one entrance, but they can dig under if they want, which I don't think they will. But they can at least scout the outside. It looks like, yeah, there are plenty of cracks. There might be crevices, ways to sneak in. There are windows or arrow slits in the walls, so at least giving visibility to the players, maybe a little bit of insight into what's inside, which I think will help. Plenty of life with these random encounters and the enemies inside of the fort. Let's dress it up a little bit more, and then I think the dungeon will pretty much play itself at this point. The rest of it I can run at the table, but this one's going to be pretty simple, but also dynamic, which I like. A lot of different things going on here. Let's dress it up a little bit, and then we'll call it. I like to do dungeon dressings. It gives it a little bit of flavor, something for me to work with at the table. Just a little bit of description, right? You don't want to give the players too much description, because then they won't ask questions. If you describe this keep in vivid detail in every single room that they walk into, you paint a picture in their heads. You have to leave gaps, right? Because that leads to imagination. And if you tell them everything, that's all that they are going to think is in there. There won't be anything left to add. If you give them a few tidbits, they start asking questions. If you say, oh, yeah, the wall is just X versus X, Y, Z, they're going to ask for Y and Z, right? They're going to want to know that type of information, which will draw them into what you're building here, which I think is good. I think less is more. I don't think that you need to fully flesh out these type of things. I can run this dungeon very, very easily, and the rest of the interaction of the dungeon, the rest of the picture painting, will be done at the table, which I think is super cool, super easy. This was probably maybe less than 20 minutes, and we've built out this dungeon. So not a whole lot of prep, but plenty of information here for a fun session. So let's dress it up just a little bit and maybe add some treasure, and then we're good. Obviously we got the carcasses downstairs, piles of maybe bark strippings, It is next to a forest, so maybe they've been clearing some of the forest to try to refortify this base. Piles of bark stripping, cleaned free of bugs, maybe some cracked eggshells from birds and whatnot. That's enough. Just a couple little things to paint a picture of what else is in here. And then I almost forgot about treasure, because there's got to be, besides the shrunken head, which I think is great treasure as is, there's got to be a little bit more. I think there should be a little bit more. Let's say the wizard also has a spell scroll, and one of the goblins took it and he is studying it. Maybe he's reading it over very, very intently in this room, and he's trying to figure it out, but he just can't. Let's do a spell scroll. Let's do level 1, and I'll roll that at the table if they find it. No problem. What else? What else? Treasure chest. Yeah, we can have it in a treasure chest. That's fine. Maybe some more items. Well, maybe some more items that signal that this wyvern is or was a wizard, or there was a wizard involved somehow. So the spell scroll helps. Maybe some blue robes, some blue wizard robes. Nothing magical, but enough indication that a wizard might wear them. And a dull dagger. Cool. And we can, let's just put this in a chest. So all this stuff is together, right? Plus the blue, or the leather bandolier with the small blue bottles attached to it, which is the wizard's potions. And the spell scroll, the blue robes, dull dagger. That's enough indication to me that there's some sort of wizard involved, right? And let's just say that they just tossed the rest of his stuff in a chest at the bottom of the keep. So somewhere down here with all the goblins' treasure, all their dead animal carcasses, all their refuse, there's also all their loot, scattered copper, silver, things of that sort, and a treasure chest with all of the wizard's belongings in it. Easy enough. And I think that's it. Thank you guys for joining me. If we do end up running this, I will link to that video down below. Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.